The team announced the move Tuesday, just a day after head coach Matt Eberflus promised changes and adjustments for the struggling team. Passing game coordinator Thomas Brown's been promoted to offensive coordinator. The 4-5 Bears have lost 3 in a row and have scored a total of just 27 points over that stretch. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott's done for the season. He'll have surgery to repair an injured hamstring. The 49ers and Demo Lenore have agreed on a 5-year extension worth a reported $92 million. He's having a solid season, 53 tackles in 9 games, along with a forced fumble and 2 interceptions. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Oh no, my phone.
Hear that? It's the sound of a skater dropping her phone and smashing it on the ice. Yep, it's definitely broken. But at Verizon, we got you. This holiday, trade in any phone, any condition from one of our top brands and get a new Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus on Unlimited Ultimate and Watch 7 and Tab S9 FE 5G. That's over $1,800 in value. So you'll save big on 3 great gifts. Only at Verizon. Service plan required for Watch and Tablet. Over $1,800 value based on phone, watch, and tablet. Trade in and additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the propane tank on your grill first before hosting a tailgate.
Let's fire up.
Here, let me try. Seriously? You didn't check the propane?
Who wants chips?
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Salt and vinegar?
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
No way football is playing in the fall and winter.
Because the hits don't hurt as much when you're numb. Get the lowdown on all the sports action coming up right here.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
And welcome in another edition of Football Full Circle right here on the grid. Scott Wetzel, George Kurtz sitting in for Ben Stevens today as we break down the NFL over the next 60 minutes with some breaking news. Not earth-shattering news, but breaking news just the same. Just announced moments ago, George. The Indianapolis Colts benching Joe Flacco, now going back to Anthony Richardson. We started with Richardson. He failed, went to Flacco. He's failed. Now we're going back to Richardson. And the Indianapolis Colts seemingly don't have a future at the quarterback position. But that said, we'll break it all down. We got some news from Jets camp, who happen to play the Indianapolis Colts. Maybe look at some of the games that are coming up tomorrow with the great one with Washington and Philadelphia, and all the games on Sunday. So what's going on, my friend? How are you on this Wednesday afternoon?
Doing well, right? Great. Getting ready for that big game, NFC East battle tomorrow night, which should be fun here. As far as Anthony Richardson, this is a weird situation. I mean, he's only played, what, Scott? Maybe 10 NFL games? I think that's the number there. And a couple of those games he left early. So I never understood, Scott, why when they drafted him, everybody and their mother knew that he was a project, right? That he didn't get much work in college. It was going to take some time here. Yet you benched him after 10 NFL games, 5 last year before the injury and about 5 this year. So was there a plan here? Maybe there was no plan. Did you think Joe Flacco was going to have the magic elixir again, that he was going to drive you to the playoffs, Super Bowl? It just made no sense to me. Did you bench him because of I'm tired, I need to come out for a play? Was it a punishment? Did he take off his teammates? Was it a combination of all of this? So I just found this strange. So I think they're doing the right thing, by the way. They got to get him back in there. It's the only way you can find out if this kid can play or not. I'm not willing to make a definitive judgment yet. Like I said, he is a project, was always going to take time. It's unfortunate he got hurt last year. So I think that did set him back a little bit because he was terrible in preseason too, Scott. And he was bad. It was like, he shouldn't be started. He should have started from game 1 theoretically. But we don't wait anymore in the NFL. Right? This is not what you and I grew up with, where you might wait years upon years for the backup quarterback to take hold here, the number 1 pick to sit behind an established starter. They want progress now. We'll see what we get over the rest of the season, but I'm not so sure we're going to see all that much of a difference.
Yeah, fans get spoiled, right? Fan bases, not only fan bases, won't blame it on the fan. I'll blame it on the head coaches who have literally now 2.5 seasons before they have to produce. Otherwise, they're sitting on the proverbial hot seat. You got GMs that are in trouble, owners that want to win. Yeah, you don't have it like old school. It's a weird situation with the Colts, George, in that he didn't go to a bottom place team, which is generally considered good. He comes on a team that has had nothing but success for the most part, whether Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck. And then they had Matt Ryan come in, playoff team, so it's good, you would think, that a quarterback comes in out of college and is on a good team. But with that comes expectations. All those players that thinking they're going to make the playoffs and they're going to win, now have to take a back seat and wait for the quarterback to come up to them. And, so on the surface, it's good, but, in a lot of ways it could be bad. And I think that's what's happening with the Colts. They realize they're a playoff caliber team, but they probably aren't with Anthony Richardson at quarterback. But as you alluded to there, what'd you draft him for then, right? I mean, when you look at their schedule, I will say this. First, if you want to take a step back, the positive for Anthony Richardson is he's played, you said it, George, exactly, 10 games. In those 10 games, he's 5-5. I mean, it's not horrible. He's not 2-8 or 3-7. Now, a couple of those games he did leave and is going to get credit for the win when in reality he didn't have a big say in it. But ultimately, he was 2-2 last year, 3-3 this year. He's not horrible, but they probably wouldn't have made the playoffs. And you look at their schedule now, they're 4-6. Boy, it's not that hard of a schedule. They got the Jets this week. That's winnable. They got New England in a couple of weeks. That's winnable. They really only have like 1 or 2 games that you would say, okay, they don't have a shot to win. So even at 4-6, they still have a decent shot to make the playoffs. And I think they would make a serious run if Flacco was the quarterback. I don't necessarily know about Richardson.
Well, Flacco's been awful. All right. And by the way, this is not much different Flacco from last year with Cleveland. He threw a lot of picks last year with Cleveland. They had a better defense. They could afford, I don't want to say afford them, but they could get by with those, and they still scored enough points to win here. Colts can't do that with Flacco. Listen, bottom line is, I think going back to Richardson is the right deal. You are not a Super Bowl team, but you said something that I agree with wholeheartedly. These coaches, they have to put something up. Right, you don't have 3-4 years to wait. 4, 5, 6. They can't. They got to go. They got to show progress immediately. They got to make the playoffs here. And I think the making the playoffs was important for Steichen. Right, I make the playoffs. It gives me more time here. Even though they were never going to win the Super Bowl, right? They probably win a playoff game. They're not that good a team. So I think that is playing a part here. I was looking at their schedule as well here. The only game where I think they have no chance would be next week,
Detroit,
right, against Detroit. Right, they'll get hammered by Detroit. But other than that, Jets, New England, Denver, Tennessee, Giants, Jacksonville. It's there. It is. They won't win all those games, of course not. But 9-8 could happen. I mean, it could happen. I don't think so, but 9-8 could happen there. Bottom line is this.
Better chance with Flacco facing those teams. Look, and these last 2 teams that he faced, Minnesota, good luck in Buffalo. You're not going to win too many of those games anyway. But so honestly, if the whole goal was just, we lose our franchise if we don't make the playoffs, would you want Flacco to be in there for those remaining 5-6 games or Richardson?
I think after what I saw the last couple of weeks, I want Richardson back. I don't know if I don't know if he's going to be any better. I honestly don't. But I mean, Scott, if you're a defensive coordinator, who do you want to prepare for? I want to prepare for Flacco. I know where he's going to be. He's taking 3, 5, 7 foot drops, and he's a statue. He's going to be there, and he's throwing picks all over the place. Yes, he throws a nice deep ball. He'll get the pass over. He knows the defenses and all that, but I don't think he has the skills to take advantage of it. Richardson with the legs, he can be more of a problem here. So I think I wouldn't feel confident with either one, but I would probably say Richardson here, only because Flacco has looked really, really bad.
Yeah. And then you're wondering with Steichen, right after the game, he's asked, all right, who's going to be at quarterback, right? And instead of saying, listen, guys, the game just ended 2 seconds ago. I'm not worried about next week. I'm still thinking about this week. We'll get to next week. Ask me that tomorrow or Tuesday, But instead, he says, oh, it's Joe Flacco, right? And now here we are 2 days later, and he's got to eat his words and explain, did you talk to the GM, Chris Bauer? Did you talk to the owner? And he's like, well, yeah, but ultimately it's up to me. And no, it's not. It's not ultimately up to you. If the GM tells you you're playing the guy that I drafted, or if the owner says you're paying the guy that I drafted, you're paying, you're playing that guy. So it's a mishandlement of all that because it's embarrassing. A day ago you're saying that it's going to be Flacco. Now you're telling the world that you changed your mind. It's going to be Anthony Richardson.
All you got to do is say, listen, they'll terminate during the week in practice. That's all you have to say. It's done.
That's all. Yeah.
All right. You don't owe Joe. It's not like Joe Flacco's a long-time starter for the Indianapolis Colts or, a franchise icon that you owe it to him and say he's the starter. Just joined the team a couple of months ago. That's all you had to say there. Yeah, so it was screwed up there. And I imagine someone told him, listen, we're going back to Richardson. All right, the fun with Flacco is over here. Maybe it was the GM. Maybe it was Ursay. Who knows? But I think that probably is what happened there. And I understand that. I guess maybe in his mind after the game, he did think it was going to be Flacco, and maybe he did change his mind to watching the film. Who knows? This was his call here, but I imagine it was Ballard or Ursay that told him, "Listen, we got to go back to Richardson to find out what we have here." The season that's not going anywhere anyway. So ultimately, I think they made the right decision here. Yeah, whether it's going to pan out, Scott, and whether it's going to work out for them, I still think this is a situation where it would be into next season before we would know for sure. And even if he played the next 8 games here, we won't find out about Richardson until next season. At some point next season when he's still playing, if he is that guy or not.
Yeah, I was going to say, the worst thing you want to have happen for the Colts is indecision about Richardson for next year. So let's see what he does over these final 7 games. See if he can make a little bit of a playoff push. See if he can show something. Or, on the other side, prove over the next 7 weeks that he's not our guy. Now, maybe we don't get rid of him, but that's not going to stop us from drafting a quarterback, unless you think it's going to be Joe Flacco next year, who reminds me so much of Earl Morrall. Same number and everything, 15. He's like the exact. You watch him throw the football and drop back to pass. But that is Earl Morrall from 40 years ago. So, all right, so Colts say it's going to be Richardson. Let's see who the Jets say is going to be playing for them Sunday when they take on those Indianapolis Colts. Football full circle here on the Grid.
Don't look like an idiot at work. Know your stuff. Football and everything else.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
U.S. Department of Agriculture announced that students eligible for free or reduced price school meals cannot be charged processing fees beginning in 2027.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg.
School districts currently work with processing companies to offer cashless payment systems for families, but the companies can charge processing fees for each transaction. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says processing companies charge as much as $3.25 or 4 to 5% per transaction. Annual inflation may have risen in October for the first time in 7 months. Consumer prices are thought to have increased 2.6% from 12 months earlier, according to a survey of economists by the data provider FactSet, up from 2.4% in September. Measured month-to-month prices are believed to have ticked up 0.2% from September to October, the same as in the previous month. An uptick in prices could fuel concerns in financial markets that progress in taming inflation might be slowing.
I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Every day, Cintas service reps help businesses get ready for the workday. They provide freshly laundered workwear delivered every week. Mats, mops, restroom and cleaning supplies. First aid and safety products to help your employees stay safe. They even test and inspect fire extinguishers and emergency lights. Cintas helps keep your business running smoothly. See what Cintas can do for you. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Fall is almost here.
It's time to stow the lawnmower and get ready for all that glorious action coming your way. Stay tuned to SportsGrid for all the strategies, angles, and info you need to get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on a Wednesday. Scott Wetzel, George Kurtz until 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Just going over some NFL news and notes. We'll preview the games here in a little bit. First up, though, we talked Indianapolis Colts. Going back to Anthony Richardson, they take on the New York Jets, who today, Jeff Ulbrich, their interim head coach, announced that Devontae Adams is not practicing. He's sick, and he's dealing with a wrist injury. So let me go old school here for a second, George. If I'm not going to go old school with the Colts and say Anthony Richardson needs to win his starting job, let me at least do it with the Jets in that, come on, he's sick. Really? Really? You're paying the dude $25-30 million a year. You're going to pay him that next year as well, and he can't get out there and practice because he's got the sniffles? Really? All right, so he's got a sore wrist, Scott. Well, then, all right, so don't throw him the football. That's all. Let him stand out there, run some routes, get on the same page with Aaron Rodgers, because clearly they're not. 4 games, only 20 receptions, 1 lousy stinking touchdown pass. So they may be best buddies and have a long history together, but with this New York Jets team, they're clearly not on the same page, and he's going to miss practice. Your season's basically on the line. Maybe it's over, but the whole thing is falling apart, and he's going to sit out because he has the sniffles. These NFL players are so soft. It is really embarrassing. I'd be embarrassed to say I got a cold, so I'm not playing if that's it. You want to tell me he's got COVID? Okay. But they're just saying an illness, so I'm guessing that's the flu. It's not like it's 20 below outside, oh, by the way, and they practice inside anyway with a bubble. Man.
I might give some pushback on that, only because, well, you don't want him getting anybody else sick if it's contagious, right? So you don't want it going around to the rest of the team, so it's Wednesday, all right? I don't think I care as far as him not showing up. Now, I have some other doubts here about, is he really sick? That's where my mind goes. Does he just not want to be there? Oh, I'm sick. I can't go into work. That sort of thing. That's where my mind goes. If he's truly sick, he's got a fever or something like that. Yeah, I don't want him there. Not on a Wednesday. Not Devontae Adams. He already knows Rodgers. Blah 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 blah. And I certainly don't want him to get 4, 5, 6 other people sick. I got a problem for Sunday. Even though once again, it'll probably be solved in 4 days anyway. Right? The flu usually doesn't last that long. So I'm okay with him not being there, assuming it's true. But see, my mind went someplace different. I'm like, oh, is he really sick? Or is he just sick and tired of the Jets? That sort of thing. I don't want to be here. That's where I go.
After a month only, though, George. He hasn't been there for 2 years and dealt with all the nonsense.
It's the Jets. It might take a day before I want to get out of there. Wow. I don't know if Rodgers is the same person he was when Devontae Adams knew him with Green Bay. Devontae Adams is going to Rodgers is going to have a cliff. Right, he's a nutcase now. So I don't know if he's that same person that Devontae Adams knew anyway. He's not the same quarterback. We know that, which of course is normal. He's getting up there in age here. So this is a train wreck of a season for the Jets, right? And they were expecting big things here at the very least to make a strong playoff run. That's at the very least. And forget that now. They'd be lucky if they get anywhere near 500 or more or less the playoffs.
There might not be. Now, listen, their over-under win total was only 9.5, so it's not like the whole world thought they were going to be great. But, just from the outlook of realistic hopes, maybe not win a Super Bowl, but get to the Super Bowl, it was not like, crazy talk around here in New York, New Jersey. I mean, that's what, if we were going to get the best of the Jets, that's what they were talking about. And now we have, obviously, the worst. There might not be. I won't even say Dallas because you're a Dallas fan and you knew expectations were probably overblown a little bit. But there might not be another NFL team where the expectations were so high and in reality is so low than the New York Jets.
I mean, the 2 biggest disappointments in the NFL have to be the Jets and Cowboys. All right, for the reasons you mentioned, okay, saying EVT was going to make the Super Bowl was probably silly, but you expected both to make the playoffs, or at least, like I said, make a strong run of the playoffs. Now, we said on each, I said on the Cowboys take their team win total on the said that many times during the preseason, only because I knew all the players they got rid of. It didn't make a lot of sense there. Jets, we thought, all right, they were adding players, right? So that's why we thought they might make some sort of run here. I don't think we knew how bad that Aaron Rodgers would be, that he wouldn't be anywhere near the same quarterback. All right, they had other issues. The defense is not the lockdown. We thought that defense would be top 5. Right, they had all 3 levels, right? They were good on the line, could be good at linebacker, good in the secondary, and they haven't been good anywhere. Sauce Gardner has not had a good season here. Jets, you fire your head coach, which, okay, but there was nothing wrong with the defense. It was the offense that had the problem. You had to change the coordinator, which you did anyway, and now your defense is still playing like crap, or much worse than it was on the Soleil, and your offense is still blah at best here. Listen, I have a ticket on the Miami Dolphins to win the AFC East, only because I thought they had the best value during preseason, so I took the Dolphins here. So not the Jets. But that being said, theoretically, once again, you're playing the same game we just played with the Colts here. Their schedule is not hard. You play Indianapolis this week, then you play Seattle, both at home here. 3 of the last 5 are on the road. You play Miami twice, so it's sort of in front of you here. You play the Rams, all right, at Buffalo in week 17. Good luck to you. But you have had some luck against Buffalo in the past here. The schedule is not brutal. I mean, I think they could once again approach 8 wins. That's not going to get you in the playoffs. You're just not going to get in here. And that's assuming this team hasn't packed it up, mailed it in, and said goodnight, see you next year.
Right. Got an interim head coach. It isn't what he's going to be doing. You can't afford. You look at these schedules, whether it's the Dolphins or the Jets or the Colts. They're all pretty easy. Surprisingly enough, or at least winnable games. But
not a
you
bad
win those games. Yeah, I mean, one team has to emerge and win all those games versus what's more than likely going to happen. You'll go 50-50 in those games, and you'll end up with 6 or 7 wins and not make the playoffs. So. Jaguars are another team that, had some expectations coming in this year, just from what they did 2 seasons ago. They announced Trevor Lawrence will miss this upcoming game, another game that, they probably wouldn't have won anyway against, Detroit, but still, no Trevor Lawrence. Boy, some of these contracts that were given out, whether it's Tua, which, okay, you'll deal with that, I suppose, whether it's Dak now, whether it's Trevor Lawrence's contract, which might be the worst out of all of them, because I think he's the most mediocre out of all those quarterbacks. But anyway, long story short, he's not playing this week again, George.
Yeah, they're toast, right? I guess this rate you might as well protect that investment. It's a silly contract, but it is what it is. All right, he's signed there. Right. It's tough, Scott, because they have to make this choice. These teams, right? Either you sign the quarterback or you start from scratch. And he's going to someplace else who's going to give him the contract. It's a tough choice here. You think the Cowboys like to have that contract back with Dak? I think they would.
Yeah. I mentioned that the other day. Would they have signed him to that contract if they hadn't signed him already with this injury? Interesting. All right, we'll talk about some of the games when we come back. Football, full circle here on the grid.
There's smart.
And there's not smart.
Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Keep it here.
And win. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
Okay, we got to hang a sign out that says the doctor is in.
1985, Dwight Gooden wins a Cy Young Award and is the youngest 20-game winner.
Looking to strike out the side. He does it.
Pitching that year was just a magical year, and when I pitched, I did want the 10 strikeouts, I did want the shutout, I did want a complete game. I want to get a fan something extra to go home about.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
In case you've been worried about AI taking your job and destroying the world economy, perhaps fear not. A large, well-known fast food chain is quietly dropping its AI-powered drive-through automated order-taking system after some mishaps.
Would you like extra sauce with your 2,100 orders of chicken nuggets?
Believe it or not, these are actual scenarios.
I'm sure you asked for 40 dozen pounds of butter.
The fatal flaw? Voice recognition AI that can't identify misidentified spoken orders.
I just want you to know that I have complete confidence in the long-term success of this mission. By the way, here is your 4-gallon vat of bacon cotton caramel ice cream.
Yahoo! Follow me at Chicapalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Money line.
I wonder if Jerry's owner's box was in the sun the entire time where they couldn't see the game. Would they put up curtains? You know they would. But the fact that Jerry sits on the sideline is like, ooh, isn't it a nice aesthetic where like the sun comes through those windows during the game? Meanwhile, it's costing his team touchdowns, and there's no reason for it to happen.
Catch Moneyline with Donnie Rightside and Kevin Walsh. Weekdays, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. Wherever you go,
there you are.
Download the SportsGrid mobile app and we'll be right there with you.
So now you can get the winning edge
anywhere. Even while the wife's talking to you.
If you've got an earbud.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on a Wednesday, hump day here on the grid. Scott and George for the next 35 minutes or so. Looking at the NFL, we'll break down some of the games here, George. We're through Week 10. Depending on whether you had a bye or not, you played 9 or 10 games, and we were talking in the break there. It's remarkable, the separation of state. Like, you're going to have a lot of bad teams this year, all vying for the top 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5, draft positions. Through 10 weeks, We have 10 teams that have 3 wins or less. I mean, that is like, there are so many bad teams, half of them only with 2 wins or less. I mean, their season for the most part is done, right? I mean, theoretically, could you win, the remaining 7 games and finish 10-7? Yeah, but realistically, that's not going to happen. I mean, you're halfway through the season, and there's no reason for the fans to go spend their $150 for a ticket, $50 for parking, and everything else they got to spend to go watch a football game when you can watch on TV, or just not watch at all. I mean, what Giant fans going out of their way? What Saints fan? What Carolina Panthers fan? Well, maybe you look to go see Bryce Young, but most of these teams are they're out of it already. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's sad. And then the quality of football hasn't been great in the NFL this season either. There's maybe, once again, bad teams, not much practice time during the offseason, all plays into it. But you're right, it'll be one hell of a battle for the number 1 pick. I believe Jacksonville has it right now if the season were to end today. That might be interesting, right? Do they trade out of it? Do you just take Travis Hunter? Whatever way you want to go. I assume they would trade out of it to a team that wanted to trade up to get what they think is the top quarterback available. I mean, and so many teams that need a quarterback, right? Giants going to be right there. I don't know if Daniel Jones is going to play another down for the Giants. I assume they're on bye this week. I assume he doesn't start anymore. Why would you do that? Take a chance on the injury guarantee.
Yeah,
you don't want that $23 million guaranteed, man. And he runs, right? He could get hurt. He runs. He gets one little ding of concussion again, or that neck injury that he's had. And I wouldn't want to take that chance. And your team's terrible. And boy, we talked about the Jets. They're going to house clean, right? I think Douglas is gone. Ulbrich is gone. The Giants could do the same thing. Shank could be gone. Dable, it's going to be a long, interesting offseason for the New York football teams. Right? They're going to be
that's another reason.
A lot of new head coaches.
That's another reason why you play Daniel Jones. I mean, although they have a serviceable backup in Drew Lock, right? So it's not like they're going to Sage Rosenfeld.
Is he serviceable?
Well, maybe, right? So, but if you're the head coach, Brian Dable, you're not worried about a draft choice if it means you're getting fired. So, and is $23 million a lot? It is. But is it the concept of paying Danny Nichols $23 million, or is it the concept of, well, we need that $23 million salary cap wise? Because if it's the concept of salary cap, you could fit $23 million. Hell, that's a break. And now they're set to have to pay him $40 million next year. So if you're going from 40 to 23, it's not the end of the world. Do you want to pay a guy who's probably not going to be on your roster? No, but I wouldn't sacrifice an entire season or half a season because I'm worried about the guy getting
done.
Hurt. Yeah, it is, but
your season is toast.
So
you're 2-8.
You have to tell me that you've made up your mind. But so if you've made up your mind about Daniel Jones, he's done then. And if that's the case, that's the case. And I made it up years ago. So you don't have to convince me he's not a good quarterback. But have the Giants, have they made up their mind? They said, all right, you know what? We're done with him. Sorry. 7 games left. Take a seat. No more. I would do that with like 3 or 4 left, not with 7.
Yeah, you don't want to. There's no reason to take a chance. Listen, if you were 4-4, well, 4. If you're 4-6, okay, hey, you still got a shot. You're 2-8. You're done. You play Tampa after the bye. That's a possible win. I'm not going to tell you you're going to lose that game, but you're probably going to lose. Dallas, sure, maybe. They're terrible. New Orleans, all right. The 3 games after the bye are possibilities. I don't think they'll lose all 3. How about that? So I'll give you a game. Maybe if you get 2, you're still 4-9. Then you got Baltimore, Atlanta, you're toast. I don't think you beat either one of those teams. Indianapolis, Philadelphia finish the season here. Theoretically, if everything goes right, yeah, they could get 6 wins. All right, maybe the Philadelphia game at the end of the season doesn't mean anything to Philly. Indianapolis, certainly you could beat them. Right, I mentioned Tampa, Dallas, New Orleans are somewhat winnable games. I don't think you'll beat Tampa. Dallas on Thanksgiving, the way the Cowboys are playing, we can get a bunch of guys from SportsGrid and take on the Cowboys and maybe win. So, bottom line is this: if you know he's not the quarterback next year, I'm not taking any chances. I'm moving on. Let Drew Lock play. Let Tommy Cutlets play. I don't care. Put Joe Pisarcik in there.
Yeah, Tommy Cutlets. He's the one that ruined it all because hadn't he won those football games at the end of the year, they would have been in a position to draft Jaden Daniels. Instead, Washington got him. Nice job there, Tommy. All right, and Football Full Circle continues here on the Grid.
The winning edge.
You've got it.
But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us.
But we're working on that.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. The 8-1 Lions are getting set for the 2-8 Jaguars this Sunday. Jacksonville's 0-5 away from home. The Lions are 3-1. They sit on top of the NFC North and have a 7-game winning streak. They rallied for a win last week at Houston. Despite quarterback Jared Goff's 5 interceptions, Lions coach Dan Campbell said he's not too concerned.
Forget the one right before halftime. Really, only one of them was kind of, okay, I got it. The rest of those... It just kind of was circumstance. We were a little off, he and J-Mo. J-Mo should be a little higher angle, you know, and so there's just these little circumstances that come into play and so for me, I'm not going to tell him anything. I don't feel like this is, oh man, what are you doing? These weren't ill-advised throws. It wasn't our day.
Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Shop early, save big all month long during Black Friday build-up at Lowe's. Right now, get select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees starting at just $59.98. Don't wait to save. Shop these deals today, in-store or online, because Lowe's knows deals. Discount taken at time of purchase while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
After you use Bounce Dryer Sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer Sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry,
Days are getting cooler.
And shadows are getting longer. You know what that means.
It's football weather. So bundle up and keep it here for all the latest strategies and gridiron information.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the Grid. Scott Wetzel, George Kurtz for another half hour till top of the hour, 1 o'clock Eastern time on the Grid. Looking at the NFL, we talked to Washington there for a second, so why not pick up there, George, Thursday nighter? I don't think they anticipated it being this big at the beginning of the year. They do like playing these division games on Thursday nights just to kind of make it even for all the division teams. And in the end, arguably we got the best game, at least in the NFC anyway, if not the Pittsburgh and Baltimore, the AFC. Washington getting 3.5 at Philadelphia. A little bit of a hiccup there last week for Washington at home. Winnable game, but they end up losing to Pittsburgh 28-27. Philadelphia's kind of turned things around here very quietly, dismantling your Cowboys. They could have won that game by 50 if needed be. So who do you like on the surface on this Wednesday afternoon for tomorrow's Thursday night game?
Yeah, I mean, Washington, okay, maybe they got screwed by the spot last week with Zach Ertz. Maybe you didn't. I think they probably did. But that being said, I don't think I'd have overturned it on review either. Would have been whatever the refs called on the field. But let's remember, they probably should have also lost the Hail Mary game, right? Chicago gave that one away. And so what I'm trying to tell you is the Commanders may be heading a little bit back down to earth. You know, they pulled out some wins they shouldn't have had. Maybe they lost a game they should have won. Philadelphia is on the rise here. Everyone's healthy now. Brown, Goddard, the offensive line. Washington, not so much. Lattimore probably not going to play. Matter of fact, checking practice reports. I know yesterday he didn't practice. I assume he didn't again today. I don't trade for players who are hurt, Scott. Especially the hamstring. You just don't know how that's going to heal. And now he may not, I don't know when he's going to play there. I assume they were holding him out last week for this game. And now he's still not there. So that concerns me somewhat there because I think he's a big piece there to calm that offense down. He's listed as questionable, by the way, now that I see here. But once again, not practicing. I don't think he plays there. Brian Robinson, also a little iffy here, though I think he does go here. I think this is the beginning. Like I said, I think we're going to see the Philadelphia starting to take control of the NFC East. I think they go in there. I shouldn't say go in there. They're playing at home. I don't want to say hammer Washington, but I think they win a decisive victory here. So I'm going to take the Eagles. I'm going to take them and give the points up here. I think they win by 7, 9, 10 points here. I think that, once again, at home, short week, they're the better team. Washington maybe heading on the way down here. Eagles tell you, we're winning the NFC East, boys. You go play for a wild card.
Yeah, I initially liked Washington, like, oh, wow, you want to give me the Redskins or Commanders with, over a field goal, I'll take it. But then when you start to think about things, a little difficult. Yeah, you're right. They've been able to squeak out some wins here. God bless them. And in the big picture, in the long run, it might not be the worst thing in the world, George, for them not to win this division. They're in first place now. This would go a long ways towards, winning the division if they could get a win here. Just because, ask the Houston Texans, you get a first place schedule in year number 2 of your quarterback, in this case with Daniels versus Stroud with Houston. It's just a whole nother game. You're getting a couple of more games against top 5 teams in the NFL, versus even a second place schedule where at least you get the second place team. You're not going to face the Detroit Lions. You're not going to face the San Francisco 49ers or the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs like you will, if you're the first place team because you get the first place other teams. So it's not, you're not going to probably win a Super Bowl, right? Even if you got home field advantage. Heck, you could have the number 1 seed in the NFC, and I don't think they're going to get that. I think that's Detroit's. But just for the sake of argument, I still don't think Washington would end up going to the Super Bowl. So, like I said, it might not be the worst thing in the world for them to finish as a wild card team this year.
I guess sort of get your theory there, and I think they will finish as a wild card team. All right, it's hard to see them falling completely out of it unless they just, right. They just lost it, and I don't see that happening for them. Listen, I don't think they'll win this week. All right, I don't. I think Philadelphia will take care of business, and I think they play Philadelphia again. Right, so that's not easy. They do get Dallas twice here, so that's good news for them. I mean, what's the worst case scenario? They split, and I think they'll win both there. Philadelphia, Dallas, they play Tennessee, they play New Orleans. Once again, you play Dallas twice, Tennessee, New Orleans. That has to be 3 wins. Right, that has to be. Yeah. You do play Philly twice. That's going to be rough here, and you got an Atlanta game as well. So we'll see how that goes for them. But I think once again, what you said is correct. I think they're a wild card team. So you'll get a second place schedule. I believe the NFC East plays the AFC West next year. So instead of playing the Chiefs, you play the Chargers. All right, not great, but hey, you avoid Pat Mahomes, which is always a bonus thing. Right. And you'll play all the second place teams in the NFC. No Detroit, maybe you play Green Bay instead. No Atlanta, you play Tampa instead. I don't know who's going to win the NFC West. Let's just say San Fran, but you avoid them, you'll play Arizona instead, like that. So it's a little bit easier, absolutely, here. But bottom line is, I think that fan base has been energized, right? Because it's amazing. You get a new ownership group in there. You run the team the right way here. You get the right quarterback. I think it's always key here. I think, by the way, I think part of the reason why he's not playing well as well is that rib injury he suffered a couple of weeks ago. Remember that?
Right.
I wonder if that's impacting his play as well. So I think that's been an issue also for Jaden Daniels here. It's been a great season for Washington. Even if they did implode, I doubt they will, but even if they did, it's still been a successful season.
Yeah. We mentioned Detroit hosting Jacksonville, right? So no Trevor Lawrence, like we mentioned. That line shot up to 13.5. Lions, listen, they won the other day against Houston Sunday night. They didn't cover the spread, which has been a rarity for them over the last really 3 years. They have the best against the spread record, whether it's Jared Goff, whether it's Matt Campbell, whether it's the Detroit Lions as a whole, home, way, favorites, underdogs. They lead the NFL, right? So I'm not a big fan of laying 13.5. We've only had a couple of lines this year be this high. This is the highest. We've only had, I think it's 2 other games where we've had a double-digit spread. So, but that said, you know what? Mac Jones barely threw for 100 yards last week, losing 12-7 to Minnesota. I can't put my hard-earned American money on Mac Jones in Jacksonville. I just can't. So if I had to play the game, give me Detroit. Even in a 10-point tease, you're still laying 3.5. So, but give me the Lions minus the 13.5.
Same thing. I think this is an ass kicking at home in Detroit. Mac Jones, even if Trevor Lawrence was there, I don't think it'd be all that much better, by the way. Tank Bigsby got hurt last week, so you don't know if you're going to have him. It'll be at the end. No. All right. Just bottom line, no. I think Detroit goes in there, takes once again, they're at home, not going there. I think they're going to beat the snot out of the Jaguars this week.
Yeah. Next game, we got Minnesota at Tennessee. Speaking of the Titans, taking on a 7-2 Vikings team that had over 400 yards total offense last week, yet somehow or another didn't score a touchdown. Did win 12-7 over Jacksonville, but they didn't cover the 5.5, 6-point spread. Probably going to go right back on them, George. But I will tell you, Sam Darnold, 5 interceptions now in his last 2 games, 3 this past week. Starting to get a little concerned. If I'm a Viking fan, boy, they're 7-2. Great, still got to fight off Green Bay for first place in the NFC North. But I am, like I said, a little concerned about Sam Darnold. All these weapons, Hawkinson is back now. He's played a couple of games, and yet Sam seems to be going in the wrong direction.
I am more than a little concerned about Sam Darnold. All right, I am a lot concerned about Sam Darnold. We've seen this before from Sam Darnold. He gets off the hot starts to the season, and then he just can't hold it. He just can't hold it. He's also very good during those 10 to 15 scripted plays. All right, very good. And then once again, doesn't play well the rest of the game. That being said, their schedule is cake. I mean, Tennessee, Chicago, you do play Arizona, Atlanta, you got Chicago against Seattle, you finish it with Green Bay, Detroit. The schedule is not difficult. They'll make the playoffs. I don't think they're a threat for the Super Bowl whatsoever. I think they're probably a one-and-done team. As I would put Green Bay better than them, Detroit's better than them, Philadelphia, San Fran. I know they beat San Fran earlier, but that's it was at a time when San Fran was beat up and Minnesota was playing well. Neither one is true anymore. So I just don't think they're going very far here. That being said, they'll win this week.
All right, 6-3 Green Bay, battle of the Midway there against 4-5 Chicago. Packers have beat the Bears 10 straight, 15-1 their last 16 meetings. Bears have had 2 straight games, 23 total drives without scoring a touchdown. They're only 8-21-1 against the spread anyway, inside their own division. Are you willing to lay 6 though on the road with the Packers?
Yes, Chicago heading in the wrong direction, and they got to play all 6 division games yet. I don't know if they win any of them. It's a nightmare there. Eberflus has to go.
Yeah, dead man walking for sure in Chicago. So I will check out some of the other games as we move around the NFL here on the Grid. Football full circle. Scott Wetzel, George Kurtz. We return in a second.
Yeah, it's getting cooler.
Football weather is here.
Stay tuned for all the latest odds, strategies, and info. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
U.S. Department of Agriculture announced that students eligible for free or reduced price school meals cannot be charged processing fees beginning in 2027.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg.
School districts currently work with processing companies to offer cashless payment systems for families, but the companies can charge processing fees for each transaction. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says processing companies charge as much as $3.25 or 4 to 5% per transaction. Annual inflation may have risen in October for the first time in 7 months. Consumer prices are thought to have increased 2.6% from 12 months earlier, according to a survey of economists by the data provider FactSet, up from 2.4% in September. Measured month-to-month prices are believed to have ticked up 0.2% from September to October, the same as in the previous month. An uptick in prices could fuel concerns in financial markets that progress in taming inflation might be slowing.
I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Lowe's honors our military community this Veterans Day and every day. To say thank you, verified military members, veterans, and their spouses get 10% off everyday purchases, plus free silver key status with My Lowe's Rewards. It's our way of showing our gratitude to the brave people who have and continue to serve our country. Learn more now at Lowe's.com/military. 10% discount can't be combined with another offer. Exclusions, terms, and conditions apply. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/terms. Subject to change.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds, which could be life-changing. I mean, you could put that money towards that zero-turn lawnmower you've always wanted. And after using its edge-shaping technology to meticulously sculpt the face of the Mona Lisa into your grass, you'll become the undisputed king of Saturday morning lawn care, leaving your neighbor and sworn enemy Gary to question his place in the delicate neighborhood ecosystem. And it's all because you could save money switching at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
Ask any player and they'll tell you any advantage is important.
That's where we come in.
SportsGrid delivers gaming strategies and analysis 7 days a week.
The winning edge.
It's your advantage to more winning
more often.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
welcome back. Football Full Circle here on the Grid. Scott and George for another 20 minutes breaking down some of the NFL games for this Sunday. We got the Dolphins at home, George, against the Las Vegas Raiders. Dolphins laying 7.5, 44.5 is your number. Dolphins having covered in 5 straight home games. That's their longest losing streak against the spread anyway since 2010-11. The Raiders, 2-7 on the season, have trailed by double digits in all 9 games this year. They're a train wreck. Lead the NFL in turnovers with 19. This is a tough one, for me. If I had to do it, I'd probably put the Dolphins in a tease, thinking, okay, they're not going to lose after, winning in L.A., flying all the way back. You should be able to win this football game. They get the Patriots next week, oh, by the way. So, all of a sudden, they could get themselves back into the playoff picture with a couple of wins. So, if I had to play it, give me the Dolphins, but more than likely I'll put them at a tease and drop the line down to 1.5.
I like where you're going with that. Parlays and also another opportunity here. You can put them with another team you think is going to win. Dolphins win the game. I have very little doubt about that. Straight up 7.5, that is a lot to ask. I can see a backdoor cover by the Raiders. I don't think this game's all that difficult for the Dolphins. You said it. What'd you call them? The Raiders, a train wreck, dumpster fire? Yeah. Whatever. This is not a very good team. Another bad organization that has problems here. Can be with Dolphins, but like I said, I like your way of thinking there. I'd much rather have been a tease or a parlay.
Yeah. So many teams need quarterbacks. It's just like, wow. They put their faith into Gardner Minshew, which, listen, he almost led the Colts to the postseason last year, which, gives you props for Shane Steichen, I guess, right? Even though this year it's all kind of screwed up, but, the Colts. So it's just it's a weird situation. You do well one season, and then you get an opportunity the next year, and it turns into complete flop. So lightning in a bottle. These guys prove why they're in the NFL, George, because they're good enough to win some games, and yet they prove why they're not really starters and big-time players, because ultimately in the long haul, they're not going to lead you to the postseason or to the promised land one way or the other. So that's kind of how it is with Gardner Minshew. He'll find a job next year as a backup, which is what he should be. Nothing wrong with that, not criminal, no crime on that. Rams lose it. I mentioned that an ugly loss to the Dolphins Monday night. They're 4-4. It could have been 5-3. Really turned they're 4-5. Could have turned things around. They play at New England, 3-7. The Patriots, real good win in Chicago this past weekend. Who saw that coming? Even though it is just the Bears, but still, the Patriots all of a sudden now threatening their 5.5 win total. Oh, by the way, they're 3-7. I don't know if they have 3 more wins in them. Same thing with Carolina. All of a sudden. Who had that money line parlay last week? Patriots and Carolina Panthers. If you did, you cashed. But you would think the Rams would be able to bounce back, right? So give me LA. Right now the line is, survey says,
1.5.
Where is that game? 4.5. Yeah, 4.5 and 43.5. Like the under a little bit.
That'd be my favorite bet in the game, right at the under. I don't think we're going to get a ton of points here. You took a cross-country trip, short week, 1:00 start. Generally not good for a West Coast team. I think I would like the Patriots to cover. Listen, if I do place a bet on this game, I have not yet. It wouldn't be a large bet. It would be more of if I have to watch this game, I want to make sure I have something on it bet. That sort of thing. But I think I would take the Patriots to cover here. I don't think they'll win the game. I think the Rams probably would win the game here, but it's a team I don't trust all that much. Outside of Kyren Williams, about the only player I trust there. Nakua and Kupp are great, but Stafford, he was awful on Monday night, right? How many times did that ball hit the ground from the snap? It was just like, what the hell is going on here? And settling for all those field goals. I can see that happening again in this game. So I probably would like the Patriots to cover, but I don't know if I like it enough where I'm going to be placing a bet on this game. This could be another. I wouldn't do a parlay because I don't trust the Rams to win it either. Maybe you could tease the Rams, get a 1.5 on the 6-pointer. Maybe, but this is a game I really just want to leave this game alone as well, where I'm going with it.
All right. I like the Rams. I got to see them lose back-to-back games. They were so bad. I got a lot of respect for Sean McVay, and let me see them lose. Maybe they win by field goal and you end up not winning your bet, but I think they do win the football game. This was it's a no-nothing game, but I'm a little surprised with the line on this one. New Orleans laying only 1.5 at home against Cleveland. Coach's fired system comes into play. They fired Dennis Allen, who I thought was just one of the worst coaches in the NFL. They win over Atlanta last week. Not great. Helped out by 3 missed field goals. So who knows if he would have hit those, what really would have happened. But they won. and now it's basically pick them at home against the Browns with a backup quarterback. I'm assuming it's going to be Jameis Winston for Cleveland. Is obviously Watson's out for the rest of the season. I'm surprised that line is that low with New Orleans, George.
What about your quarterback going to his ex-team for a revenge system? All right, Winston going back to New Orleans there.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I'm on Cleveland. I'm on Cleveland. They're coming off a bye too. Cleveland, this is not a bad team. They had a bad quarterback that derailed their season, but it's not a bad team. It's a good, solid defense here. I think Myles Garrett's going to go make Derek Carr's life miserable. They have no wide receivers there, right? No Olave. No, it's all Camaro or bust. All right, so no, give me Cleveland. You're going to give me points with Cleveland coming off a bye. I know it's on the road, and that certainly won't be easy, but I'm going to take the Browns.
All right, biggie in the AFC, Pittsburgh at home against Baltimore. Point spread right now is 3. Long history of these teams' games being decided by 3 points. The underdog, 17-2 against the spread, something goofy like that. I mean, just because they're all 3-point games and the point spreads are generally 3 or 3.5. So same thing here. I like Pittsburgh, I do, but you want to give me Baltimore plus the 3? I'll take that. Should be a great game. Read a little something on why this one wasn't flexed to the Sunday night game. It's a long thing, but it's a network thing. But they could have, but they did think about that. But I don't know why it's a 1 o'clock game. They should have found a way to flex it to at least a 4 o'clock game. But 1 o'clock it is.
My guess as far as the 4 o'clock game is this might be a Fox doubleheader week, so CBS doesn't have it for the 4 o'clock. That's my guess. I don't know offhand. I didn't check the which network has the doubleheader, but because you're right. Or then again, never mind. We forget about the other big AFC game. AFC Chiefs and Bills. That's what they have the 4 o'clock start. So it'll be a big CBS week to watch these games. I'm going to be on Baltimore here, but I don't love it. Tomlin's numbers in this situation against Baltimore are just fantastic. So, but I'll take Baltimore and the over.
In the over. Interesting. All right, can't go under in a Baltimore game these days, which sounds crazy, but it's true. All right, football full circle. We continue after this.
The boys of summer become the champions of fall.
The World Series is on its way.
And SportsGrid brings you every angle. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and SiriusXM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-797-1292. 800-797-1292. 800-797-1292. That's 800-797-1292.
Think of us as your cool roommate that has this innate gift of somehow always picking winners and never bugs you about doing the dishes or paying rent. Sports gaming strategies and information 24/7.
Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
back. Football full circle here on the grid. Scott Wetzel, George Kurtz, breaking down all the NFL action. And for Ben Stevens, who returns tomorrow. It'll be me and Ben tomorrow. So didn't necessarily leave the best for last because we got a bunch of games to get to here still, George. But Buffalo hosting Kansas City. We're running out of bullets here very quickly with this Kansas City team, as fellow Dolphin fans no doubt do not want to see them go undefeated in the regular season. You look at their schedule. Now, listen, anything could happen because realistically, they could have / should have lost to Denver at home, right? And if you broke down their schedule, who would have said that would be a game that you have a hope that they lose? So, and, really anything can happen. But when you just look at, games that they're going to be favored and should win, there's not much after this weekend. You got Houston, but, the Texans are 6-4. They could pose a problem, but it's not like they're playing great. They do have a road game at Pittsburgh toward the end of the year, which no doubt will probably mean something for the Steelers. That'll be a toughie, but outside of that, this is it. So I got to try and put the black cloud, all my pools, all the things that I do. I got to bet Kansas City and hope somehow, some way. Maybe they lose, but at least cover the spread. I'll take that. They're getting 2.5, boy. Buy into hook, get that up to 3. Patrick Mahomes, 11-3 straight up as an underdog in his career, which is amazing in that it's only been 14 games, and 12-1-1 against the spread. I mean, the guy's just remarkable when you put him in these spots.
He is, and they're a team that's just been finding a way to win. I said they should have lost last week to Denver. It's funny. I'm watching that. I'm like, yeah, it wouldn't shock me if this kick is blocked. I was saying that as a joke to myself because once again, Kansas City is finding that it is blocked. You're like, are you kidding me? Really? Are you kidding me? But hey, it doesn't matter. They won the game here. My only problem here, Scott, is who's playing for Buffalo? All right, we know Keon Coleman's out. Cooper is listed as a limited participant in a walkthrough practice today. Kincaid did not participate in a limited practice today. I mean, are they playing? Are they not playing? Are they going to be on a snap count? All sorts of worries here. Generally, with these two teams, Buffalo wins the regular season and they lose during the playoffs to Kansas City. I think Kansas City likely covers, so I want to take Buffalo in this game. I really do, but I don't have any. I think once again, it's going to be another close game. It's going to be a close game. I'm going to take Buffalo right now, but I'll feel much better about it. I wouldn't bet anything right now until I find out more about Cooper and Kincaid.
Yeah. I like I said, I would buy the hook, get Kansas City up to 3 with those numbers, 12-1-1 against the spread, and I'm guessing, the times that Mahomes has been an underdog, it hasn't been very much more than 3, right? I mean, so he's remarkable. You want to give me Kansas City undefeated? You want to give me points with that? I'll take it. I will. So hopefully they lose, but something tells me they'll find a way to win. Kind of a separation game. Atlanta at Denver. Denver, a good little start to the season. One more win, they're going to eclipse their win total, which was only 5.5. So they obviously outperformed what people thought they would get out of them. Chance, though, to make a statement. They lose this past week, as we talked about here. Do they rebound, or was that their Super Bowl and they fall flat? They're at home against Atlanta. To me, they're in the last spot in the AFC at 5-5, believe it or not, for the postseason. If you want to be a postseason team, you find a way to beat, a decent enough Falcon team. And same thing with the Falcons. Bad loss against the Saints. Tough spot. Coach is fired. Get all that, but you still had a chance to win. You missed 3 field goals. If you're a playoff team and you want to be taken seriously anyway, you find a way to win at Denver.
Kirk Cousins was terrible last week. Let's face it. I mean, some of his decisions were just like, what are you doing? Interceptions, fumbles, that last pass of the game where you threw the ball short on the first down where you can't get out of bounds.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing? That's so much reminded me of that final player in the Giant playoff game versus Minnesota, right? Where he did the same thing.
Right, yeah.
I think on the throw to Hawks, he's like, what are you doing? Well, where's your head? That sort of thing. Playing in Denver's rough, right? With the altitude there, that can take a little bit of an adjustment time. That being said, Denver's a so-so team. Good defense. Offense is a work in progress here. I think you did say one thing that's key to is their head still about what happened last week when they lost the game? I wonder if that could be a part of it. I'm going to take the plus money. All right, that's the bottom line here. I'll take the plus money with the Falcons, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, me too. Same thing. Seattle plays at San Francisco. Niners, they did win. They didn't cover, kind of like Minnesota. Numerous opportunities in the red zone, but they end up at least winning the football game. I think they do cover this time against Seattle.
Agreed. San Fran usually does against the Hawks. Hawks not a very good team, even coming off a bye.
Yeah, San Fran, we may not have gotten the A game out of San Fran yet, but I think we will before everything's said and done. George, great job as always. We'll do it again soon.
Now you've done it.
You found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.